people!
Cliffhanger was directed and co-produced by Renny Harlin, the Finnish filmmaker who directed A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, Die Hard Part 2, and Deep Blue Sea, among many others.
Okay, so we've already watched. I've already seen like a number of his films.
Cliffhanger was based off a premise written by a real mountain climber and a screenplay that was written by Michael France. Michael France basically, he did this, he did GoldenEye, and then he did some really shitty Marvel movies, like the first wave of Marvel movies, like
in the 70s.
No, like in the early 2000s, the original Hulk, and I think maybe the Punisher. So before production began, Stallone rewrote Michael France's script, and his work changed the film significantly enough that Carolco, the production company, petitioned the Writers Guild of America for Stallone to get a writer's credit.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So 7 people have wrote this thing at this point then?
Exactly. Just like all the movies back then, it started off as one movie, and that movie was canceled, and there was another movie, and the director moved from that to this, and that whole type of thing.
It used to be at an opera house, or wait, they were supposed to be making another movie together where they're going to...
Yeah, they were making a movie called Gale Force or something, which is basically like Die Hard during a storm. And that just turned into Cliffhanger. But I mean, part of what makes Stallone interesting is that he's not always a bad writer. Like, he wrote the original Rocky, which catapulted him to stardom. And then as his star was starting to fade in the early 80s, he wrote Rambo. And that really solidified him as a leading man that could bring in, big numbers. And then he was a huge draw in the 80s into the 90s. And part of what's interesting about Stallone is, he's an actor, he's a leading man, he's an action star, but he's a filmmaker before that. Not like any of the other guys, really. He wrote, produced, and directed the films that made him a star. He was doing small parts before Rocky, but it was really writing that film and then insisting that he played the lead that made him an unlikely and then extremely successful leading man.
Right.
It doesn't really make sense. It shouldn't have happened. His face is half paralyzed. He's got a weird New York accent. He was in a fucking porno. Everyone told him, look, you're not the leading man type. Give it up. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
The story of Sylvester Stallone is an underdog story, and it should be celebrated.
It's pretty good. They should make I guarantee they'll make a biopic.
The story is still being told, Russ.
Yeah, sure. It's unfolding before us.
I think it's a testament to the fact that art isn't like by the numbers.
Sure. You just can't think that because this guy doesn't have it, he's not going to do it. He does. You just got to give him the chance.
He's got something. He had something unique.
Yeah, I mean, he went all for it, dude. He sold his dog, ate his dog later to in front of a producer.
that was Rambo. That was when he was in Vietnam. He ate the dog. Yeah. So I never saw Cliffhanger back in the VHS days. It was a big financial hit. I think the reviews were kind of mixed, kind of mixed to bad. But I always thought Cliffhanger just looked boring. An action movie about rock climbing sounded kind of boring.
Yeah, it does sound kind of boring.
And I couldn't have been more wrong. Cliffhanger is the farthest thing from boring. It's incredibly stupid, but it's not boring.
Right. I mean, have you seen Free Solo?
I've never seen Free Solo.
Okay, because that movie's also about rock climbing, but it's also not boring.
Oh, okay.
You're like, it's edge of your seat. That said, this is not really a movie about rock climbing, despite the fact that it's called Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And there is people who can't hang off cliffs for fun.
Yeah, maybe it might have just been the marketing and the poster looks kind of boring, but it's not. This movie is fucking awesome. 4 stars. Go watch Cliffhanger. It's fucking streaming on Hulu. There's a 4K transfer and a 4K Blu-ray, and this is the type of movie that you actually want to watch in 4K.
4K is nice.
Because it's a $70 million film where most of the money is spent on screen. They had the budget, and they took the time to shoot every scene and stunt properly.
Oh, yeah.
Every action sequence in Cliffhanger is top-notch.
Yep. The locations themselves. If you're not watching the movie for the performances by Stallone, watch it for just epic second unit aerial photography of these incredible mountains. Just outlandish mountainscapes, and you really get a sense of the scale. So I think they did it. They really captured that, and I think that's pretty epic.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film. In the opening scene of Cliffhanger, Ragers Gabriel Walker and Jesse Dahane, played by Sylvester Stallone and Janine Turner, are dispatched to rescue their friend Hal Tucker and his girlfriend Sarah, played by Michael Rooker and Michelle Joyner. Hal has injured his knee, leaving the couple stranded on a peak way up in the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah.
Russ.
Great. aerial photography, Gary.
Great aerial photography.
Dude, we come in and we're zooming through these beautiful mountains, these clouds, and but how the hell did she get up there?
The movie looks like $1 million. That's the thing. Like, I'm not, nor have I ever been a professional mountain climber or an emergency rescue pilot, but I don't think the way Cliffhanger portrays a mountain rescue is accurate.
Right.
It's probably about as accurate as the portrayal of police work in Cobra. You know?
Yeah, you have your own armored car.
Yeah.
And you just kind of do your own thing. You walk in and out of the police office whenever you want.
Well, I want to talk about this opening scene in detail because it's pretty ridiculous. Once Jesse and the other pilot, Frank, find Hal and Sarah, she radios Gabe to get his whereabouts. And Stallone just like responds. He's just like hanging off a cliff. He's like, "Hey, Jess, I'm just hanging out."
He is the cliffhanger?
I guess he is the title character, the cliffhanger.
Because he's hanging off a cliff right at the beginning, right next to the title.
Yeah, he's hanging off this cliff,
Just
thousands of feet up, apparently, because I guess
inverted?
I don't know. I don't
like
think he's I think he's just hanging by his hand at this point.
Okay.
But he must have superhuman strength if he's capable of climbing thousands of feet up and hanging off a cliffside by a single hand.
Yeah.
It seems pretty unrealistic, right?
For fun. But actually, his climbing double is a world-renowned climber. He's one of the best.
Yeah.
And so
it
makes sense. They probably just got the guy to climb. And I hear actually at some point they saw like a line, like a safety line, and they're like, "Yeah, we could see that with the camera." And the guy was like, "All right," and just did it without the line because climbing people are crazy. Gary, you ever been climbing? You ever been mountain climbing?
No. You have experience climbing, right?
I've done a little bit when I was younger, and then at a gym, but. Man, being outdoors, hanging upside down like that, I've never upside down, but even just climbing up a rock face, it's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I assume the filmmakers want to show off Gabe's climbing ability in the opening to establish the character, but even if this is physically possible, wouldn't it take a long time to get up there climbing? Like, if this was really an emergency situation, he'd probably just go up with the helicopter, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Unless you're like really fast like a spider.
Well, he beats the helicopter.
Right.
But this isn't real life. This is a movie from 1993. So.
Right. Yeah. I've traveled in the mountains. I haven't climbed up the mountains very often, but I know mountain travel takes a long time. And for you to think you can beat a helicopter to the peak of whatever, that's...
Well, Stallone beats the helicopter to the peak, and the footage of Stallone... or I guess his stunt double on the cliff is pretty fucking amazing.
Oh,
it turns your stomach to watch. It's like really well shot and seemingly 100% practical.
Yeah, it's like disorienting and dizzying as it like goes up and over him, and you're like, oh man, you really see that this guy is climbing this thing. And that I think the starting out the movie with stunts and epic shots like this really sets the mood. It's the indexical. I've talked about it before on our show, but the indexical nature of film, capturing reality, capturing a thing that happened. It's not like all on green screen and they're doing that. They're flying through the mountains. Whether or not it's Stallone on that mountain doesn't matter. But they got a guy and they're filming him climb this epic thing, and you're seeing that in this epic location. And there's something really magical about all that capturing. And for that, I applaud this movie.
Yeah, it's quite a feat of filmmaking. And Cliffhanger was dedicated to the memory of the stunt person who did Stallone's climbing stunts. He died shortly after the film was finished in a car accident, which is kind of an ironic way to die considering he was hanging off a cliff by his scrotum a couple weeks before.
Yeah, that's no fun. That's ridiculous.
It's pretty ridiculous that he died on the 405 in a very mundane way.
The danger of cars. Yeah. It's safer to be climbing off a side of a cliff for 3 weeks, and then they're like, "Hey, do it without a harness," and you're like, "All right."
Yeah.
And then you die in a car accident. Damn. Heart goes out to that guy. Thanks for making Cliffhanger look so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty ridiculous scenario, but we have to suspend disbelief and accept Stallone single-handedly free climbing thousands of feet up before the helicopter could get there. So Stallone climbs up, to his best friend with his bare hands, and his girlfriend Sarah, who apparently isn't much of a climber.
Yeah, somehow got up to the top
somehow
of this.
Got up very,
it's such
very
a
high.
Steep, ridiculous thing.
Yeah. And once they're up there, the three of them are all laughing and joking and having a good time. It's very jovial, almost too jovial considering their lives are at risk. And, the asshole tasked with rescuing them has been wearing himself out, swinging around, showing off to his girlfriend with a little boy's haircut. A lot of people don't know this, Russ, but Stallone's love interest in Cliffhanger is actually played by the same actor that portrayed his 10-year-old son, Michael, in Over the Top just 5 years previous.
Wow. did not
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, I'm saying Janine Turner looks like a 15-year-old boy.
I get it.
You get it?
I can see it.
Yeah.
That's a funny.
The logic in the film is that the wind is too strong to get the rescue helicopter close to the peak, but it doesn't really explain why the helicopter wouldn't fly over the peak and lower the winch down to Hal and Sarah, then connect the winch directly to them and pull them up into the helicopter.
Damn, Gary, why didn't you look like that when you were 15?
Right?
Oof.
Would you have been more interested in me?
Oh, we would have hung out more.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you saying? I was thinking about you as a 15-year-old.
There's no fucking logic in this rescue, Russ.
Oh, right.
Stop fantasizing about having sex with 15-year-old me and stay with Cliffhanger in 1993.
Right.
I was only 5 years old when this came out, so if you wanted to have sex with me in 1993, that would have been a fucking problem,
not acceptable.
Pal. Yeah.
No, I mean, the 15-year-old is also not acceptable.
Yeah.
We were both in high school. Anyway.
Hold on. Okay. So.
Yeah. Nonsense. So he grabs a rope and swings across like Van Helsing.
Well, yeah, the logic in the film is that the wind is too strong to get the rescue helicopter close to the peak.
I guess that may be.
But it doesn't explain why they couldn't just fly over the peak and lower the winch down. Am I wrong? Like, wouldn't they have just put the helicopter over them and
off?
No, dude. This is just a bullshit scenario for the movie to. It's obvious. Like,
well. It's scary.
It makes no sense.
It's dramatic, Gary.
But,
it's
more
drama.
about
I don't know if you understand what drama is.
Yeah.
But this movie has it.
Well, I don't know if you understand what film criticism is, Ross, but it's being critical of the film.
No, can't be. This movie is the perfect.
Yeah. Gabe hammers what looks like a 6-inch spike into a crack in the rock, and he connects a line from the helicopter to the spike so that Michael and Sarah can slide from the peak to the helicopter, which seems ridiculous, as I'm saying. Cliffhanger sets up this completely unnecessary and treacherous scenario, and of course it doesn't go well.
Well, yeah, no.
Right?
We've all seen Ace Ventura 2.
Yeah, that was pretty much my only frame of reference for this scene before I just rewatched this was the parody of it in Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's pretty much the same scene. They really just do a shot-by-shot parody, so it's not that much
with a raccoon
different.
Instead of a woman.
So it's kind of a spoiler if you've already seen Ace Ventura 2.
Yeah.
But Michael takes the line to the helicopter without issue, and when Sarah attempts to cross, which, by the way, Sarah's not injured. Why is she even crossing this line to the helicopter? Can't she just climb back down with Stallone?
That would be a lot. She's not a good climber, Gary.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. So anyways, as Sarah's making this death-defying crawl to safety, a buckle breaks on her harness, cutting her loose from the line.
Oh.
And Stallone,
I will say, Gary, I'm going to stop you there.
Sure.
This is a black diamond harness, yet in the credits, at the end, they specifically call out that it was altered to fail.
Anyways, Stallone crosses the line and grabs Sarah's arm and tries to save her, but she slips and makes a very dramatic long fall to her death.
Yeah. Pretty good stunt. She falls.
Yeah, and it's the way they shoot it. It looks fucking awesome. They really follow her down far, and what makes the scenario even more dramatic is that like Stallone fucks up and he drops this girl, and he has to watch her fall 4,000 feet while he's hanging upside down.
Yeah, that would be traumatic.
That would be very traumatic, and it is, and he's traumatized.
Oh, well, how about that? Makes sense.
Yeah. And despite the fact that the scenario doesn't really make sense, this is a pretty
it
great
makes
intro.
Sense.
It doesn't make any sense, Russ.
We just said how it made sense. I just said the word. It makes sense.
You're going to tap a 5-inch nail into a cliff and run a rope to a helicopter, and like people are going to cross it. It's fucking retarded.
They should have slacklined it.
Slacklined it?
It's what what the hippies do in the park where you step on like tightrope.
How about lower the winch, connect Mike or Hal to the winch, and take him into the helicopter to safety?
Dude, you just gotta amputate on the top of the mountain.
No, we gotta make monkey bars and climb across a 4,000-foot chasm.
Yeah,
it's fucking nuts.
Hey, man, maybe you don't know, Gary. You don't know what it's like, man.
I don't know. And I was hoping that you would know more about climbing and you'd be able to balance.
No, I don't. Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I do. I've been put in that situation 3 times already. Yeah,
and they made you slide.
Yeah, I mean I fell.
They built a zip line and they zip lined you into the helicopter.
It dropped me every time though.
Yeah.
So
despite the fact that the scenario doesn't really make sense, this is a pretty great intro. It's extremely well shot and directed. You feel the tension the whole time. The rapport between Gabe and Hal is a little cheesy for 1993. But aside from that, it's pretty compelling opening and instantly draws you into the movie. So in the next scene, Gabe returns to Colorado 8 months after the accident. He's racked with guilt. He's been living in Denver and working as a cocktail waitress ever since Sarah's death. And Gabe,
Waitress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's working in a bank or something. But it'd be pretty funny if Stallone's like just wearing a little dress and he's just like serving drinks.
We're going to get you.
I don't climb anymore. This is what I do now. So Gabe, he goes back to the mountain to convince his girlfriend Jessie to move with him. Before he gets to his house in the mountains, there's a scene where he runs into these two goofy like Colorado extreme sports types. Mm-hmm. They're at like a gas station stocking up on Mountain Dew. And when they see Gabe coming down the road, they just like chase after him in their Jeep Wrangler.
Yep.
These two look like inbred Bill and Ted. They have a retarded Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter thing going on. And they just chase after Gabe. And then there's like this hilarious scene where Stallone has a full-on conversation with these two kids.
Oh, dude.
And no one is making any attempt to look at the road.
Yeah. Everybody, he's like, they're driving alongside of him on the wrong side of the street. He's looking back over his shoulder and like whispering at him, being like, "Yeah, it's kind of, I guess it could." Yeah. And somehow they hear him over the window, and their heads are like sticking out. They're like smoking a 6-foot bong, and like
it's pretty funny
for like 5 minutes, Gary. Like
it's just cutting back and forth to two people driving and not looking ahead at all. It's pretty funny.
As one whispers, and the others are.
Yeah. And while this is going on with Gabe returning, the movie sets up a midair heist involving a crooked U.S. Treasury agent, Richard Travers, played by Rex Lynn, who's aligned himself with a psychotic British former military intelligence officer, Eric Quaylen, played by John Lithgow.
Ah, Lithgow. You know, I feel like I remembered Lithgow from doing a lot of funny things, but for movies, he doesn't really play a lot of funny roles necessarily.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I kind of like Rex Lynn in this movie. He plays Travers, and plays him like a complete psycho.
That's the bald CIA
That's the bald. He's not a CIA. He's a U.S. Treasury agent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but John Lithgow's performance as Quaylen is distractingly bad. he's doing a really shitty English accent.
So
and
bad.
All his lines are like really bad guy cliches, and there's just not much unique to this character. He's a sociopath almost to the point of like parody, but he just feels like a villain pulled from a James Bond film.
Yeah,
I think is about where Michael Francis was at, because he wrote GoldenEye and then he wrote really cheesy comic book movies.
Okay, so that's kind of in line for that gentleman.
It's kind of his sensibilities, I guess, which are not good. So you know, Cliffhanger really lacks subtlety, but that's part of what's fun about it. It's it's a big expensive R-rated movie from 1993. And it's not hip and meta like a Quentin Tarantino film. Yes. Cliffhanger completely lacks any self-awareness, and that's kind of what I like about Renny Harlin's films in general. He's a talented director, but I think he's a little older, and he doesn't have the sensibilities of the Gen X filmmakers. So he made these big, dumbed-down popcorn movies, but at least he didn't chase trends. He just made dumb 80s movies into the early 2000s.
Well, he started as a music video director. That's how he got Nightmare. He just was like, he just like did a bunch of weird stuff, and they're like, "You direct this movie. It doesn't have a script yet." And then it's just so Nightmare 4 is just weird sequences after weird sequence. But go on.
Yeah. I just think his movies are kind of timeless in a weird way. Most filmmakers in this time were trying to do what was popular, and they were making like The Usual Suspects, and like they're imitating emulating all these like indie filmmakers that were popping off, and he's not doing that at all. He's just making shitty.
He's just making
70s movies. He's completely
another action
devoid.
Yep.
He's not that smart, which is what makes him a good filmmaker. You know.
Hey man, he's going for the raw emotion. You know, he knows what it is, and he's not trying to make it anything it's not. Or he's just not aware of what.
Or he's just not self-aware at all.
Yeah.
It's just like
he's just trying to make a cool movie.
He's an immigrant in a culture that he doesn't understand, making dumb movies. But you know, Cliffhanger is as much fun to watch now as I assume it would have been in '93. Renny Harlin's a pretty underrated director. His movies are pretty watchable,
top notch. Yeah.
So to pull off the heist, Quaylen must fly a plane parallel to Travers in the Treasury plane, so they can send the 3 cases containing $100 million across from one plane to another on a line.
Crazy. What a cool looking stunt.
Well, it didn't work with Sarah, and it's not going to work with the $100 million either, Russ.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know, but they don't know that. They didn't try that.
Yeah.
This is them learning. Although they did the stunt. Like this is a real. They really did the stunt. They put a.
I'm going to talk about the stunt.
Okay.
So one of the Treasury agents who was presumably killed by Travers gets an automatic weapon and shoots Quaylen's plane, sending the thieves and the stolen money crashing into the Colorado Rockies. And this midair heist scene is also pretty amazing. It includes a stunt where a performer crosses a line from one plane to another in mid-flight. And from what I've read, they couldn't get insurance for this stunt, and the production had to pay the stunt performer, Simon Crane, $1 million to perform this feat. And apparently Stallone had to take it out of his $15 million paycheck. Okay. What a saint.
Yeah, what a nice guy.
Yeah, and this stunt is in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most expensive stunt of all time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So putting a wire across two planes and then having someone like zip line across it was one of the most expensive stunts ever filmed.
Also the fact they have to pay the guy $1 million, so it's the cost of the stunt plus $1 million. So
I mean, what about those like?
Because they couldn't insure him, so it's like we're going to pay you $1 million. You might die.
Okay.
This isn't insured.
Right.
You're taking your life into your own hands.
You're putting $1 million on the line.
And when you put it like that way, it's not that much money. I guess in 1993,
$1 million here
for $1 million to risk your life in 2022, it's like, oh yeah, money for that I can live in LA for 4 years with.
Maybe you've done this before. You know, you're comfortable with air jumps or whatever the hell.
Well, I think if it had been done before, it probably could have been insured.
Right, but this is the first time anyone's done such crazy thing. Probably a last.
Yeah, yeah.
And they caught it on film. That's what I'm saying. You know, these stunts, they go all out, and they're capturing actual guys actually climbing across a wire between two planes flying. You can't.
Yeah, the movie magic back then was
anymore.
Yeah, they would just really do it.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Cruise kind of does it a little bit.
That's the thing that I was wondering, because they say this is the costliest stunt ever, but did they consider the fact that Tom Cruise gets paid like $100 million and just does all the stunts now?
And he's like, "Well, we're going to spend."
They might technically
be
those might be.
If you spend 2 weeks doing halo jumps, like that's with a whole crew, that's got to be more expensive than a $1 million dude. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
And the cost of the flights, but.
Yeah, for sure. I got a piss, Russ. Can we take a break for a second? If somebody could make like a funny edit where it's like just Stallone like making you take like Stallone from over the top making faces like when he's arm wrestling and just cut to him on the cliff and you call it Cliffhanger. He's just like fucking the mountains.
Nice.
Think that'd be funny?
Yeah. I mean, and climbers understand it because that's why they go up there.
That's why they go up there, yeah.
To have sex with
nature's
the rocks.
Pussy, which is like a hole in a rock.
Yeah. It's a little bit rough, but once you build the callus, ooh, nothing beats it.
Yeah. Now here's where the plot of Cliffhanger gets interesting.
Wait, do we talk about the miniature plane exploding and the bad 90s compositing?
No, well, hold on. Let's unpack this a little bit. I'm jumping
the game. Okay.
No. You're talking about when the plane crashes into the Rockies?
When it explodes, explodes.
No, hold on. But bad compositing? Was there some bad compositing? Maybe I just missed that. Please elaborate.
It didn't look good.
Okay.
When it was like
some of the stuff with the plane hitting the snow, I thought looked fucking awesome. I guess you're saying that was a miniature. I was like, is this a miniature?
I'm talking about
a real plane.
There's a plane that blows up.
Yeah.
In the sky. Mm-hmm. It's the one the guy climbs off of with the stuff that the zombie CIA agent is still on, and then he shoots the Uzi, and then the whole plane blows up because of the bomb they planted on it. With the LED timer.
Yeah, the Treasury plane blows up and theirs goes down.
Yeah.
You thought the explosion was really bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, they're doing all these great shots of, like, this real stunt, and then all of a sudden it's a miniature, and it's, like, shot in profile, and the editing gets kind of weird, and then there's this weird composite shot where it's the fake miniature plane blowing up, like a fake explosion. I don't know. It just like
maybe I just missed it. To me, I was like, "Oh, this all looks super impressive." Maybe it just kind of dazzled my eyes with some of the other stunts, and I kind of just missed it.
On top already, so
yeah,
the movie could do no wrong. I can dig it. I don't know. It seemed out of place because we've been doing everything practically, and everything was big and real, and then there's a clearly an effects shot. You know what I'm saying? So my point is that we're doing everything like real, and then all of a sudden there's an effects shot.
Yeah, it stands out.
So it just stood out to me. But what are you gonna do? You can't blow up a real plane. I'm just nitpicking, you know?
I guess not.
Yeah, that's gonna cost another $1 million.
Yeah, they couldn't figure out the technology for that until 2001.
Oh.
So here's where the plot of Cliffhanger gets interesting. While this is all going on, the dispatch receives a distress call from the thieves who are pretending to be lost hikers.
Mm.
So Jesse persuades Gabe into going along and helping Hal, who is still extremely bitter over the accident and the loss of his girlfriend, Sarah.
I mean, understandable. The guy dropped your girlfriend.
Is it understandable? I feel like it's more his fault than Gabe's fault, but he is blaming Gabe.
Just because I took my girlfriend who can't climb mountains up to the top of the dangerous mountain, and then I broke my foot, you think it's my fault, Gary?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it. He shouldn't have done that. And for him to be
he might be kind of mad at Gabe because he knows it's his fault, and he's, that's his
right.
way of grief and dealing with it. But
Yep.
these mountain men aren't ready for these complicated emotions, Russ. So
they're just going to be mad, punch walls or whatever.
But,
do
Gabe,
art.
They're going to do art, exactly. So Gabe reluctantly agrees, and when Hal sees him on the mountain, he loses his shit and almost throws Gabe off the cliff.
Yeah.
Which, Michael Rooker freaking out at you is pretty scary.
He's a scary guy.
He's a scary motherfucker.
I used to know a friend of his.
Yeah.
That's that story.
It's a 6 degrees of separation for Russ and Michael Rooker. So, Michael Rooker gives a pretty solid performance, and Stallone is Stallone.
Yeah.
Look, a lot of people hate on Stallone's acting, and I don't think he's really a bad actor. It's just like he's such a unique guy with unique mannerisms.
Mm.
And like a voice. It's just he always comes off as the same character no matter what.
Stallone, right?
Yeah.
He's almost like Christopher Walken. I mean, granted, Walken can act, but he's kind of
I feel like Walken kind of became a parody of himself later, but to me it's pretty similar to what's going on with Arnold, because it's like
he's the star.
They're just
you're there to see him.
They're thrown into movies. It's like here he is. Here's Arnold. He's Tom Smith now. He's like I'm Tom Smith. And it's like no, he's not.
Right.
Here's fucking Stallone. He's from Colorado now. His name is Gabe. He's still talking with the fucking accent from Hell's Kitchen. Mm-hmm. It's still the guy from Rocky.
Gabe Walker, by the way. This guy's a climber and he's a walker. What the hell? Why'd they do that?
Yeah.
Why would they do that? I guess the last name Climber's silly, but my cousins are named Climber. Like that. Hey, and I'm a steppin'.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
I was born to walk around or step.
Apparently.
Gary's last name is Nazi. I was trying to think of something. We were just talking about Nazis.
Oh,
anyway,
man.
Gary's not a Nazi.
Don't call me a Nazi, Russ.
I didn't. I said his last name. It's not his birthright. Gary's not even, Nazi-like at all.
Yeah, how am I going to be a Middle Eastern Nazi?
I mean, his arm is stuck up in this weird position, but he says
just because I have a unique mustache style that's not, worn much these days doesn't mean that I have any
stiff knees,
ideological similarities to certain people in history who've also had this mustache.
Right. It's a Charlie Chaplin. Everybody, that mustache is called the Charlie Chaplin. Hitler just ruined it for everybody.
Exactly. It was Charlie Chaplin stash first.
Anyway.
And, now it's Michael Jordan. Doesn't he rock that shit?
Does he?
I think so. He did for a while. I remember he was doing those Hanes commercials with Hitler. I think that was kind of like him trolling Hanes. He's like, yeah, I'll do the commercial. And then he showed up with a Hitler mustache. Which is like, what's up?
Nothing, Michael.
You got a new mustache? Yeah, I'm trying something different. They just didn't have the balls.
Okay.
Like, can you please shave that?
Actually, it'd be worse if they did it in post.
Removed it or added it.
Yeah. Or shaved half of it, like the outsides. Goddamn Hollywood.
Yeah, it's truly a tainted mustache at this point.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, world leaders who are awful.
Yeah.
Can you wear a mustache like Mussolini? Is that fine? Or is it like,
I don't even know what Mussolini's mustache looked like, Russ.
Okay.
What was it?
I think it was big and... No? Yeah, you're right. You could wear
the only mustache.
Stalin?
The only mustache that's really synonymous with racism is the Hitler mustache.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else is just a mustache. You know what I mean?
What if I had the Stalin beard mustache combo?
Beard is just so many people have had the beard, and it's hard to really taint the beard.
Okay. What if I shaved my pubes into a little swastika?
Like an Abe Lincoln.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Like it's just the Abe Lincoln on the nutsack, and then you get a little top hat.
Oh wow, is that what you do?
That's what I do. That's only because my penis freed the slaves.
Oh well, there you go.
So at this point in Cliffhanger, Gabe suddenly has a gun that shoots bolts into the rock.
Well, that's so you can put things into.
I mean, I was hoping you can give me a little bit more insight into this, Russ. But from what I hear, this movie really It pisses off mountain climbers because there's a lot of inaccuracy in regards to the climbing stuff.
Dude, I bet they wish that was possible.
And when Hal and Gabe find the survivors, they discover the distress call was fake and they are taken prisoner by Quaylen and his gang.
Oh, the criminals.
It's pretty funny, too, because John Lithgow was just like grabbing Stallone by his throat. It's kind of funny. Stallone's way bigger than him.
Yeah.
I guess he's got a gun in his face.
Yeah, he's got a couple guns even.
Yeah. So they force Stallone to climb and retrieve the first package, which Travers is located through a GPS tag. Also, before Gabe climbs for the case, they take his coat and they tie a rope to his leg so he can't run away.
It's crazy.
Which is an interesting choice because he's wearing a harness. Maybe they should tie the rope
to the harness?
To the harness.
Well, that's easier to untie.
Okay. So as Stallone climbs to get the money, Quaylen decides they don't need two guides, and he orders his men to kill Gabe when he returns with the money. Hal screams to alert Gabe, and then one of Quaylen's henchmen starts pulling on the rope tied to his leg.
Bullshit.
What's the thought process here? So if you pull him off the mountain with the money's going to fall off the mountain. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Why would they do that? They send him up to get the thing, and then they try to pull. Yeah, I don't understand. Unless they're like, all right, screw Stallone. We're going to get this Hal character to climb up there after we kill Stallone. Which is...
it doesn't really make sense. And then Stallone cuts the rope around his ankle, and he's able to flee.
With his crampons.
Yeah.
He like slams it with these spikes. That would be so improbable. But, hey, man, movie.
Yeah, and then Quaylen's men attempt to shoot him, causing an avalanche that kills one of the bad guys. And Gabe gets away. And
after like a really long... There's a couple of just... they start shooting at Gabe, right? Mm-hmm. And there's this long effect shot where they like cut together with invisible edits. I quote invisible because they're pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like this tracking shot up the mountain.
Oh, the shot up the mountain. Yeah.
And then like a ricochet blasts off near
I respected that, dude. They're trying to do ambitious shots and like
I guess it was tricky.
This movie, they're not being lazy. They're not rushing through any setups. Everything is like trying to do specialty camera shots and like make it look very visual.
I guess that's true.
I don't know.
You couldn't fault him on that? You liked it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, right on.
I mean, it's 93. Yeah, there's probably some the compositing's a little bit, but it wasn't that bad. It was kind of dope.
But then it's also followed by what must be a real avalanche. That shit looked great.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if they blew up the side of that mountain for the movie or what, but that looked really. It was a huge miniature. I don't think it was a miniature. It couldn't have been. The scale on that was just too perfect. Maybe it was stock footage of a. I don't know.
They might have just made an avalanche.
They might have just made an avalanche because it looked great. Yeah. So anyway.
So Gabe gets away and he finds Jesse at an abandoned cabin, and they recover
convenient.
Yeah, right. They recover old mountaineering gear, and they're able to get to the second case before Quaylen does. So they leave the case empty with a single $1,000 bill with the message "Want to trade" written on it. Oh. Yeah. Also, they leave a snowman. Gabe is a great climber, but he kind of sucks at making snowmen.
The snowman is awful, and
the
they have a lot.
Looks like a big pile of shit.
They have some primo snow there.
Yeah,
like it's packing nice. It's been like the sun's been on it all day, and it's like warm now. Ooh,
So next, Gabe and Jesse burn the $30 million to stay warm in the abandoned cabin, which seems pretty silly. The money would most likely burn up in minutes, and it wouldn't keep them warm. It's just an unnecessary waste of $30 million. $30 million that some very edgy 90s villains are looking for. Next, Quaylen orders his men to split up, and Kennett, played by Leon Robinson, runs into Gabe and Jesse. And there's a pretty intense fight scene in a cave before Gabe impales Kennett on a stalactite. It's kind of jarring because most big budget action adventure movies are now like PG-13. So you're not used to seeing like such intense violence. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
The 90s fucking ruled,
He
dude.
tells the guy he hits like a sissy and then picks him up and slams him upward into a stalactite.
Stallone, he's like the lead man in this like action adventure movie. He kills this dude like he's fucking Jason Voorhees. It's fucking awesome. These two are beating the shit out of each other, and they're bleeding like crazy. And when Jesse tries to help Kennett, he hits her. And, like, it's kind of jarring because he just hits this woman, which is also something that is kind of shied away from showing in movies.
Yeah, you don't really do that.
And
it's kind of like, how there's, like, rules of war?
Yeah.
There's, like, a code of conduct. In reality, in life, you just don't hurt women, I guess, is like the accepted thing. But, man, you still step the line. Hey, don't hurt a woman and don't hurt an animal. Don't you dare hurt an animal, because it's over if you hurt an animal. You can hurt women in movies, and maybe you'll be redeemable.
Yeah. So, he gets the upper hand on Stallone. He's taunting him about Jesse's stupid haircut, and Stallone picks this guy up and just puts this huge stalactite right through him. There's blood everywhere, and he's left with a huge hole in his chest.
You don't think it would be easier to throw him onto a stalagmite on the ground? Instead, you have to lift him up with the force of pushing this stone on. I mean, it's sharp. It's been dripping. It's dripping in stone, but blasting it up through this man's thing. Guts are gonna come down onto you. What a choice.
Yeah, it's true, but I mean, it takes care of him pretty effectively.
Yeah, it does it.
And Cliffhanger is just amazing action scene after amazing action scene. This is one of the most expensive stunt movies made just as the industry was starting to transition into more CGI.
Right.
And it's a masterpiece of old school action filmmaking. So Hal and the hijackers run into the hippie kids from earlier, and one of them is gunned down by the gang very dramatically.
They call each other cheeseheads earlier.
Cheeseheads?
And I guess that guy turned them into a Swiss cheesehead.
Oh. Well, I don't think it's the intended effect, but this scene just cracked me up the first time I saw it. It's very funny.
I cracked up because of the Swiss cheesehead joke. Yeah. I thought to myself, but why? Why did you laugh?
I don't know. I
guess
it just comes off as kind of cliche at this point, watching these slow motion gun deaths.
Yeah, just like the bullet dance of death as you just slow motion riddle.
And pretty much every time a bad guy kills someone in this movie, it's shot like this. Very slow motion and dramatic. So it starts to kind of lose its effect because it's just like every one.
Oh, everybody. I mean, there's a pretty high kill count in this movie, surprisingly, considering there's not really too many people in it.
Yeah, well, Cliffhanger, it's a great movie, but it's having a real hard time figuring out a creative way to make these bad guys bad guys. They're just
it's just they kill.
They're just mad.
He's rude and he kills. He's clever and he kills people without mercy. Yeah, I agree with you there. They were kind of almost very one-dimensional.
Kind of lazy. Yeah. So when morning breaks, Gabe and Jesse beat Quaylen to the last case. And meanwhile, the mercenaries trick old Frank into bringing them the helicopter, and Delmar shoots him very dramatically, of course.
Of course.
Again.
Why'd they shoot this old Frank, man? Come on.
I think because they're trying to show that these bad guys are bad. Yeah.
That they'll do whatever. They'll explode something big and then shoot a guy for no reason. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a scene where Quaylen kills his girlfriend, who's the only other trained pilot, so that he has leverage over Travers.
Right, he kills his own girlfriend because he's bad, Gary, because he's evil. And then now I'm going to sit in the helicopter till you do whatever you need to do. I'm a dickhead.
It's obviously supposed to illustrate how evil this guy is, but it feels kind of forced at this point in the film. And then the mercenaries split up to look for the other case, and Hal is able to use a knife he got off Frank to stab Delmar and kill him with his own shotgun, allowing him to escape. This scene is pretty funny because Delmar, he's such a bad guy. He's not going to shoot Hal. He's going to beat him to death, right? And he's like, "You like soccer?" It's like, I'm pretty sure if this is a guy from England, he's not going to call it soccer.
Right, he's going to call it football. Yeah.
So then he's doing soccer kicks at him.
Right. It is. They are on the side of a beautiful mountain. They have a couple epic wide shots of these two fighting that are just
yeah. And the movie's full of beautiful mountain shots. I don't know if we mentioned this, but it was mostly shot in the Dolomites in Italy.
Right. It's supposed to be in Colorado, but it's on. The mountains are definitely not the Rockies at times. I mean, I hear there are parts that look like the Rockies.
Yeah, I don't know why that was. If it's some accessibility reason, or it's something.
They probably wouldn't do the shit they could
or it could be a reason like Italy will let you do.
They'll let you string two planes together for $1 million. Yeah.
In America, there's all types of crazy regulations and a big industry regulating this thing. You go to Italy, and it's like, oh yes, we fly the plane and throw the guy over. If he dies, okay, we got the grave down there. Take care of the whole thing. No sound. We had the sound later. We had all the sound later. It'd be better. But these bad guys, they're just like sociopathic to the point where they're like incompetent. They're killing each other and getting themselves killed unnecessarily.
Yeah.
If they were smart,
they're dwindling numbers now.
If they were smart, they would have just offered the 4 rescue people $1 million each to help them. Then they'd still have $96 million to split amongst themselves, and they'd probably get away.
Yeah, be out of here.
There's no reason. They're like ripping off their coats and spitting in their faces and like smacking them. Like, go get the money. Like, it's such a bad strategy to get what you want.
Right. It's definitely a way to turn them against you.
Yeah.
In fact, at that point, I'd probably just...
And you're in the mountains. You're going to compete with people who actually know how to survive in the mountains and climb mountains. You're like smacking them in the face.
I probably would climb up. I would untie my shoe. I would take all the money. I'd throw it off the cliff, and then, whatever.
Yeah.
I'd probably keep a stack of thousands, and then you're good, man.
Yeah. So Travers spots Gabe, which leads to a confrontation on a frozen river. Yeah. So Gabe dives under the ice, and Travers tries to shoot him.
Right. He grabs him. Gabe is underneath this like bridge. He's standing on the ice, and he
hides under the bridge, and he pulls Travers
like an ogre or like a troll. He just grabs the guy through the bridge and pulls him down. But then in doing so,
can you imagine being stuck in the mountains in the snow and Stallone trying to kill you? How fucking terrifying that'd be! Just some big guy with like a paralyzed face being like, "I'm gonna drown you in this frozen river."
He's gonna throw you out of a helicopter. He's gonna set up some booby trap style things.
Yeah.
He's gonna be hiding underneath on a frozen river. But here's the thing: he pulls the guy through, and because he's standing on a frozen river, like the force of the pulling the guy causes him to crash through the ice. What a terrible plan. Like, he's just transferring the force into him through the ice.
Yeah.
Also, big fear of mine, being trapped underneath ice. That'd be scary.
Oh, that'd
be cold as hell.
Dude.
Drowning sucks, yeah, sure, but drowning in cold water.
Yeah, I guess you'd probably drown first.
When you can see like
you'd probably
safety,
you'd panic because of the cold water and the drowning.
Yeah, your body would go into shock immediately.
Yeah.
And the water, the air you didn't breathe before you splashed into the water would instantly be up. Oh my God!
But Russ, we're really burying the lead because, as in with most film theory, once you introduce a bolt shooting gun,
right.
you have to fire that bolt shooting gun into a bad guy.
Of course.
So he uses the fucking fake bolt gun that doesn't exist.
It shoots underwater, so that's great.
Well, that's the thing. If this gun just it's basically just a gun, then
yeah, it's just a gun.
It's just
it
a gun that shoots bolts.
Yeah.
But it could actually just work as a bullet gun. Basically.
But also, bullet guns run on gunpowder, and a lot of time I'm pretty sure if you bring a gun underwater,
it's not going to fire.
The bullet's not gonna,
Yeah.
So this thing's got to be real special.
Oh, well, there you go, Russ. You found a hole in Cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's why the gun doesn't make sense.
Aren't you special and smart?
Yeah, my mommy says so.
Okay, so next, Quaylen takes Jesse hostage.
I'm taking her hostage because I'm bad now, and this is a thing I can do.
Well, she
in my helicopter.
She waves down the helicopter thing, and it's Frank, and it's Quaylen piloting it. And what's interesting here is he points a gun at her through the windshield.
Right.
Can he shoot her? Wouldn't that just not do anything? Wouldn't he just shoot the windshield and break the windshield?
It would probably deflect the bullet at an angle so that it wasn't where he was pointing anymore. It might send glass shards back. And it would definitely be very loud.
Yeah. So,
he could then try again to shoot, but he'd probably hit the side of I would assume they have some sort of bulletproof glass. They need to be hit by flying bugs or
I don't know why he
bird
points the gun. It should just be him pulling up in the helicopter. But yeah.
What is he going to be like? He's going to point to the rotors and like come at her with the top of the helicopter?
I guess they need an action. Is that what you're saying?
He's got to let her know that he means business.
Yeah. I guess.
He's a bad guy, Gary. He's not going to just say get in. He's going to point a gun at you.
Yeah. So Quaylen tells Gabe and Hal over the radio that he's holding Jesse captive on board the helicopter. And he demands Gabe and Hal surrender the money from the third case at a high elevated rendezvous point, and he threatens to kill Jesse should they refuse to cooperate. So
bad guy.
He is a bad guy. I think that's what they've been trying to sell, and
I didn't get it until this point.
Yeah. So Stallone meets Quaylen with the money, and he lowers Jesse to the ground using the winch that they should have used to save Sarah in the opening.
Now who's poking holes in the movie, Gary? With the actual equipment on board being shown off. Whatever.
So once Jesse is safe, Gabe throws the bag of money into the helicopter's rotors.
Smart.
Shredding the money. Yeah, and it's great. And it's visual, too, because it's like shreds the money into the air. And then Quaylen tries to kill him with the helicopter, but Gabe connects the winch cable to a steel ladder on the cliffside, and Hal shoots the helicopter down. And the ladder snaps, leaving Gabe and Quaylen on top of the wreckage.
What an epic. This
hanging
is
by only a cable.
So much action. Like, this movie is really a lot.
It just never gets lazy.
You're on the edge. You're on the edge of a cliff the entire time.
Yeah, and then Gabe fights Quaylen and manages to climb to safety as the wreckage snaps off the cable and falls to the bottom of the mountain.
And that's where the movie ends, on a cliffhanger.
It really does. Gabe reunites with Jesse and Hal as they are found by the Treasury agents, led by Walter Wright in a helicopter.
Oh, I was joking.
No, but it really does. This movie very abruptly ends with all three of them standing on top of the cliff after they talk to the Treasury agent. And it's weird because the Treasury agent's like on the way with the helicopter's like, why don't they pick them up? They're like, no, we're going to send another plane. Obviously, they couldn't schedule all this in one day or something.
Right.
Or they couldn't get the helicopter or whatever.
Sure.
So they don't actually see them get picked up, which is interesting.
Right. They're just, and it's funny too because the guy's flying and he's like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, hey, we killed the bad guy. And he's like, great.
Yeah, great.
Don't you think they would be like, wait, you killed somebody?
Well, now first you're going to be detained and arrested for killing. You killed somebody with your bare hands in a cave, Stallone.
We also burned the money. We burned all the money,
Yeah.
and then we threw it off a cliff. I know that was yours, Treasury, but we did that.
Well, also, I feel like part of it, too, is that, the Stallone characters always have to be, like, all good. He's got no greed in him. There's no conflict in him. He doesn't try to keep any of the money.
He kind of liked Hal's girl at the beginning. The one he dropped with the slippery hand.
He was just being nice, and they were just joking around.
Oh, okay.
Well, you think there was, like, a real...
Yeah, I thought he wanted to bang Hal's girl.
Well, wait until he gets back to the Rockies after 8 months and he finds fucking Michael Rooker's been slamming his little boy-looking girrand.
She's the only thing around. After Frank
it's either her or old Frank!
He's dead. Oh, no, he wasn't dead. He was an artist. I don't...
Yeah, did you enjoy Frank's painting?
Yeah, what was that about?
I think they were trying to throw a little Colorado culture into this movie. Oh. That's why they had the two retarded hillbilly kids.
Oh, right.
They had the weird Frank who he paints. He takes his soft penis out and he puts paint all over it and he smashes it into a canvas.
A glass canvas.
Yeah. And that's how he makes his very avant-garde modern art. Also, I gotta wonder, like, what was Stallone's writing contribution to Cliffhanger? Was it just him adding like the bad jokes? Because the bad jokes do seem very much like Stallone jokes.
Right.
I was never very good with money.
Yeah.
Like,
that's why I burned it. I think Cliffhanger just did so many things so good and so real in camera that when they did try compositing and weird things like that, it stood out to me like a sore thumb. And for that, I'm going to give it only 3.5 stars. 3.5 dineros. Rather than a 4.
Yeah, I mean 4 might be a lot.
4's a lot. I mean it's a cheesy movie, but it's got action scenes. If you want action scenes, I was on the edge of my seat.
They really fucking shot this thing well, man. They did not cut any corners.
Yeah, they did do a lot of rope climbing for a movie called Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted the movie.
Well, missed opportunity, Russ. They should have made the main character's name, Cliffhanger.
Right.
And that would have been
rather than Gabe Walker.
Yeah.
Clifford Hanger.
Yeah, Clifford H. Hanger.
That'd be good. That would have been smart. In the remake.
Yeah.
When we remake it. And we'll
remake Cliffhanger and dumb it down a little bit because it was a little bit too nuanced for modern audiences.
You think so?
I think
they wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
So we have to. Wait.
First of all, let's get The Rock in there.
Okay, yeah.
He's playing Cliff H. Hanger. And let's why just have them cross a line from a cliff to a helicopter to save the girl? let's make it more fun. Let's put a trampoline on there.
He's got a trampoline across the chasm.
Yeah.
And miss the rotor, like time it perfectly so he misses the rotor to land in the side.
Yeah.
Actually, the helicopter's got a...
And then he kills, the girl accidentally dies and Hal's upset, but The Rock just smacks the shit out of him in the helicopter and tells him to quit being a pussy.
And then it ends.
Yeah. That's it.
I kind of wanted this movie to end on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, and John Lithgow's alive behind you. He's got a gun. Credits.
I just love, like, in the end when John Lithgow's in that helicopter trying to, like, be menacing. He's just, like, looks like a little badger. He's like, these weird faces.
I'm going to get you.
It's weird because John Lithgow is, like, known for being a good actor.
Right.
And being able to do the English accent. I don't know if he just didn't prepare for this film, if he got the role last minute and he watched a fucking James Bond movie and he's like, yep, I'm going to do that.
He did get the role last minute.
Yeah.
It was going to be
I
someone
heard
else.
Christopher Walken almost got it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how amazing Cliffhanger could have been with Christopher Walken as the main bad guy?
Saying the same lines? Probably, huh?
I guess if you kill one man, they call you an asshole. But if you kill 1,000,000, you're a conqueror. Yeah, the lines were fucking bad.
Yeah, did I write any of his lines down?
At one point, he's like, "Oh, I'm beginning not to like this Mr. Parker very much." Fucking
Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker.
Mr. Walker, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. Every line was
bad.
pretty cheeseball.
Yeah.
You could probably roll your eyes at every line and no one would fault you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, that's it's a fun movie. It's got the spectacle, like Gary said.
Yeah.
It was
What
one
else
of the last
do you
movies
want?
before Christopher Nolan was the only guy like blowing things up in the sky.
It's fun, dumbed down, completely unself-aware, movie. And yeah, it's definitely worth watching. And that's it. I don't know. I don't have anything else.
Well, let's close this out with that game I suggested. So
what's that?
Where we try to read as many of the credit names as we can in a minute.